Jungkook breaks down when Jimin asks one devastating question, forcing hidden truths into the open on a storm-filled night. The studio door slammed so hard the mirrors trembled, and Jimin's voice cut through the thunder outside like shattered glass. "Will you ever choose me?" Jungkook froze in the center of the dark rehearsal room, chest rising fast, sweat cooling on his skin after hours of dancing alone. Rain clawed at the windows. The city beyond them blurred into rivers of neon and shadow. For one suspended second, even the storm seemed to wait. Jimin stood near the doorway, soaked from the downpour, water dripping from his coat onto the wooden floor. His hair clung to his forehead. His hands were shaking, though whether from cold or fury, Jungkook could not tell. He had never seen Jimin look so exposed, so dangerously close to breaking. "Say something," Jimin whispered. Jungkook opened his mouth, but nothing came out. That was always his curse. On stage, he could command thousands with a glance. In interviews, he could smile through any discomfort. In songs, he could pour oceans into a single note. But when it mattered most, when truth stood in front of him with wounded eyes, his voice abandoned him. Jimin laughed once, a short, bitter sound. "Of course." He turned away, but Jungkook moved before thought returned to him. "Jimin, wait." Jimin stopped without looking back. "I've waited for years." The words struck harder than any scream. The fluorescent lights above them buzzed faintly. Somewhere in the building, an elevator bell chimed and fell silent again. Jungkook suddenly noticed everything. The smell of wet fabric, the ache in his knees, the pulse hammering in his throat, the distance of exactly 6 steps between them. 6 steps, it felt like a continent. "You don't understand," Jungkook said. "Then make me understand." Jimin turned then, and there was no anger left in his face now. That was worse. Anger meant fire. This was ash. Jungkook remembered the first time he had met Jimin years ago. A bright laugh, impossible confidence, hands always warm no matter the season. Jimin had been sunlight entering every room without permission. Jungkook, younger and uncertain, had followed that light more often than he admitted. But sunlight can burn when you hide from it too long. "I choose all of us," Jungkook said weakly. "The team, our promise." Jimin stared at him as if he were a stranger. "No, you hide behind that answer every time." He stepped closer, shoes squeaking on the wet floor. "I'm not asking about schedules. I'm not asking about loyalty. I'm asking if, once in your life, you would choose me when it costs you something." Jungkook's breath caught. Because there it was, the real blade beneath the question. Choose me over fear. Choose me over image. Choose me over the version of yourself everyone applauds. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling. Hands praised for precision, strength, talent. Hands that could hold microphones, trophies, strangers' expectations. Hands that had never once reached for Jimin when cameras were off and hearts were loud. "I wanted to," Jungkook said, barely audible. Jimin's eyes glistened. "Wanted. I still do. Then why does it always feel like I'm standing outside your locked door?" Thunder rolled overhead. Jungkook's memories surged without mercy. Jimin waiting after practice with 2 cups of coffee, pretending he had bought an extra by accident. Jimin sitting beside him in hospital corridors when Jungkook twisted an ankle, talking nonsense until he laughed through pain. Jimin noticing every mood change before anyone else did. Jimin pulling away little by little these past months, tired of loving someone who loved him only in silence. Jungkook swallowed hard. His greatest fear had never been rejection. It had been possession. The idea that if he admitted what Jimin meant to him, the world would take it, label it, consume it, and leave nothing sacred behind. So he had protected the feeling by starving it. "I thought if I kept it hidden, I could keep it safe," Jungkook said. Jimin's expression cracked. "Safe for who?" No answer existed that wasn't ugly. Jimin wiped at his face angrily. "Do you know what hurts most? It's not that you're afraid. Everyone is afraid. It's that you let me carry all of it alone." Jungkook felt something inside him collapse. He crossed the 6 steps at last. Jimin didn't move away, but he didn't reach back either. I'm sorry, Jungkook said, voice breaking. I'm sorry for every time I let you think you were asking for too much. Jimin's lips parted. He had expected excuses, perhaps even another retreat, not this rawness. Jungkook's eyes burned. Tears blurred the sharp lines of the room. He hated crying in front of others, hated the helplessness of it, but tonight there was no strength left for pride. I chose fear, he said, again and again, and every time I lost you a little more. A tear slid down his cheek. Then another. Jimin inhaled sharply, stunned into silence. Jungkook almost never cried. Not like this, not openly, not where someone could witness the wreckage. I didn't come here to make you cry, Jimin whispered. You didn't, Jungkook laughed through tears. I did that myself. Rain battered the glass harder, as if the storm wanted inside. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Jimin reached up slowly and brushed a tear from Jungkook's face with his thumb. The touch was gentle, practiced, devastatingly familiar. You always wait until the breaking point, Jimin murmured. I know. I'm tired, Jungkook. I know. And I still, Jimin stopped, jaw tightening. Jungkook's heart pounded. Still what? Jimin looked away. That's the problem. Silence spread between them, softer now but no less dangerous. Jungkook realized apologies were not bridges. They were only the first stone laid in dark water. What do I do? He asked. Jimin gave a sad smile. For once, don't ask me how to love you better. The words landed with brutal precision. Jungkook had relied on Jimin's patience so long he had mistaken it for permanence. But love, even loyal love, can bleed out quietly. He nodded. Then tell me what truth I've been avoiding. Jimin searched his face, perhaps to see if courage would vanish again. Finally, he said, you keep thinking choosing someone means losing yourself. Jungkook stood very still. Because that had always been the hidden wound, older than fame, older than success. As a child, he had learned that being loved often came with demands. Be talented, be useful, be perfect, be easy. To be chosen meant to become what others wanted. So he had vowed never to belong to anyone. Yet Jimin had never asked for ownership. Only honesty. The realization hit him so suddenly, it made him dizzy. I don't know how to do this, Jungkook confessed. Jimin's eyes softened despite himself. Neither do I. Another small silence, this one warmer. Jungkook laughed weakly. That's comforting. It shouldn't be. It is. Jimin shook his head, but the ghost of affection returned to his mouth. The storm outside began to ease, rain thinning into silver threads against the glass. Somewhere below, traffic resumed its distant hum. The world, indifferent and immense, kept moving. Inside the studio, Jungkook took one careful breath. Then another. And for the first time in years, he did not hide behind timing, strategy, or caution. He reached for Jimin's hand. Not dramatically, not like a movie scene, just a trembling hand offered in plain sight. Jimin stared at it. Then slowly, uncertainly, he placed his own hand there. Warm. Real. Human. Jungkook closed his fingers around it and felt tears rise again. I can't promise I'll stop being afraid overnight, he said. But if you let me, I'll stop choosing fear first. Jimin looked at their joined hands, then at Jungkook's wet eyes. You're late, he whispered. I know. Jimin stepped closer until their foreheads nearly touched. Then don't waste any more time. And in the dim rehearsal room that had witnessed years of perfect performances and hidden fractures, two exhausted hearts stood without choreography, without script, without applause, finally trying to be true. Morning arrived like nothing had happened. Sunlight spilled across the city in pale gold, touching rooftops, windows, traffic lights, the endless machinery of ordinary life. But inside Jungkook's apartment, the air felt charged, unstable, as if one wrong movement could ignite the walls. Jungkook stood in the kitchen, staring at a cup of coffee gone cold. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, He saw Jimin standing in the rehearsal room, soaked by rain, voice shaking as he asked the question that had split something open inside him. Will you ever choose me? Then the memory would shift, Jimin's hand in his. You're late. Then the final words. Don't waste any more time. Jungkook pressed both palms against the counter and exhaled hard. His phone vibrated. Manager. Then another message. Emergency meeting, headquarters, 10 a.m., mandatory. A third notification appeared before he could respond. Jimin, are you awake? Jungkook stared at the screen longer than necessary before typing. Yes. 3 dots appeared instantly. Jimin, something happened. Before Jungkook could ask what, another message arrived. Jimin, don't react when you get there. Jungkook's stomach dropped. At headquarters, the elevators were silent except for the low hum of machinery and the sharp tapping of someone's shoe against the floor. Jungkook stood beside Taehyung, who looked half awake and deeply irritated. Why do companies love ruining mornings? Taehyung muttered. Maybe someone leaked something, Hosok said, too casually. Namjoon glanced at him. You say that like you know. I know humans. They're messy. Yoongi leaned against the mirrored wall, arms folded. If this is about schedule changes, I'm leaving. The elevator doors opened. No one laughed. Inside the conference room, tension sat heavier than furniture. Their manager stood near the screen, face pale. 2 executives were already seated, laptops open, expressions blank. Jimin was by the far window. He did not look at Jungkook. That hurt more than expected. Sit down, the manager said. Everyone obeyed. The screen behind him flickered on. A blurry photo appeared. A rain-soaked street, outside the studio building last night. 2 figures standing close beneath the awning. One reaching for the other's hand. Jungkook felt blood drain from his face. Taehyung straightened. What the hell? Next photo. Jimin entering the studio. Next photo. Jungkook following minutes later. Next photo. The 2 of them, leaving separately after midnight. No faces fully visible, but visible enough. Someone sold these to a media outlet at dawn, the executive said. They're asking for comment. Silence detonated across the room. Jimin finally looked at Jungkook. There was no panic in his eyes. Only exhaustion. The manager cleared his throat. We can deny speculation, say it was a work discussion, routine practice. That's not a denial, Yoongi said flatly. It's enough. No, Namjoon said quietly. It's a delay. The executive's jaw tightened. What matters is protecting the brand. Jungkook's hands curled into fists under the table. There it was again. The brand. The machine. The convenient word that swallowed people whole. Jimin spoke for the first time. And what exactly are you protecting it from? The room turned toward him. The executive answered carefully. Public misunderstanding. Jimin laughed once, cold and humorless. Interesting phrase. Jimin, the manager warned. No, let him finish, Jimin said, eyes still on the executive. What misunderstanding? That 2 people met privately? That we have personal lives? Or is the misunderstanding that people might imagine something you'd rather keep invisible? The air sharpened instantly. Taehyung sat back slowly, watching like a man sensing incoming fire. Enough, the executive snapped. This is not the place. Jimin stood. Then where is the place? Because every time truth tries to enter this building, someone escorts it out. Sit down, the manager said. No. Jungkook's pulse thundered. He had never seen Jimin this dangerous. Years of grace and diplomacy had turned into something far more terrifying. Someone with nothing left to lose. Jimin, Namjoon said carefully. But Jimin continued. You ask us to be authentic in interviews, grateful on camera, vulnerable in songs, honest with fans. until honesty becomes inconvenient. The executive slammed a palm on the table. Watch your tone. Jimin leaned forward. Watch yours. Hosok muttered under his breath. Oh, this is bad. No, Yoongi murmured. This is overdue. Jungkook's chest tightened. Because he knew this wasn't only about photos. This was about every compromise. Every silence. Every year, Jimin had swallowed his own hurt, while Jungkook hid behind caution. The executive turned to Jungkook. Say something. The room froze. Jungkook felt all eyes on him. Jimin, too. This was the moment he had feared for years. Choose safety. Or choose truth. His throat went dry. The old instinct screamed at him to soften things, redirect, smile politely, survive. Instead, he heard Jimin's voice from last night. Don't waste any more time. Jungkook rose slowly from his chair. No. The executive blinked. No what? No more using me as a shield. The manager looked horrified. Jungkook, think carefully. I am. His own voice surprised him, steady, low, clear. You want a statement? Jungkook continued. Here's one. We are human beings before we are products. The room erupted at once. Sit down. Stop talking. Do you realize what you're doing? Jungkook. But he kept going. You trained us to fear normal things. Friendship, privacy, loyalty, love. His gaze locked on the executive. Anything you couldn't monetize became a threat. Jimin stared at him as if seeing a stranger. Or maybe the version of him he had waited for. The executive stood so abruptly his chair screeched backward. This meeting is over. No, Yoongi said, remaining seated. Now it's finally starting. Even the executives paused. Yoongi rarely raised his voice. He didn't need to. He looked around the table with quiet contempt. You built an empire on our faces, and then act offended when those faces become people. Hosok let out a breathless laugh. Hyung woke up violent today. Taehyung grinned darkly. About time. Namjoon removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Then he said, we should have had this conversation years ago. The manager looked close to collapse. This is career suicide, one executive said. Jimin answered softly, maybe, or maybe it's the first honest day we've had. Phones began vibrating across the table. Notifications. Messages. Calls. The leak had spread. The manager looked at his screen and swore under his breath. It's trending globally. Taehyung took out his phone, glanced once, then whistled. That was fast. Hosok leaned over. How bad? Taehyung's brows lifted. Depends who you ask. Half the internet is romantic edits, half is warfare. Jimin closed his eyes briefly. Jungkook stepped toward him instinctively. The executive noticed. Do not create more spectacle. Jungkook turned. You still think this is spectacle? The man pointed toward the door. Get out. Jungkook smiled without warmth. Gladly. He walked to Jimin. The room watched every step. He stopped in front of him. For 1 second, fear returned. Then he offered his hand again. Publicly. Openly. Gasps, actual gasps. The manager whispered, oh my God. Jimin looked at the hand, then at Jungkook's face. You're dramatic today, Jimin said quietly. I'm late, Jungkook replied. A flicker of emotion crossed Jimin's features. Pain, disbelief, tenderness, anger, all colliding. Then he took the hand. The room exploded into voices. But neither listened. They walked out together. Hallway staff froze as doors opened and heads turned. Whispers followed like sparks through dry grass. Someone dropped a folder. Someone else pretended not to stare. Jimin's hand trembled in Jungkook's grip. Are you shaking? Jungkook murmured. Are you? Yes. Good. They reached the private stairwell, and the door slammed shut behind them, mooting the chaos. Silence. Breathing. Concrete walls, emergency lights, dust and steel. Jimin yanked his hand free. Jungkook's heart lurched. Then Jimin shoved him hard against the wall. You reckless idiot. Jungkook hit the concrete with a grunt. Jimin stood inches away, eyes blazing. Do you know what you just did? Yes. No, you don't. I chose you. Jimin's anger faltered for half a second, then returned sharper. You chose a moment, that's easier. Jungkook stared at him. You think this was performance? I think you're addicted to grand gestures, when quiet consistency is harder. The words sliced deep because they were true. Jimin stepped back, packing now. You can hold my hand in front of executives, fine. But what happens tomorrow, next week, when headlines get uglier, when people hate you for it, when they hate me for it? I won't let go. You already have before. Jungkook flinched. Jimin saw it and hated himself instantly. His voice lowered. That wasn't fair. It was honest. They stood in the sterile stairwell, both breathing too fast. Then Jimin laughed bitterly. Look at us. We finally stop lying and immediately become a disaster. Jungkook couldn't help it. He laughed too. The tension cracked. Only slightly. Jimin covered his face. I should be furious. You are furious. I am. Anything else? Jimin lowered his hands. Yes. He crossed the distance again, grabbed Jungkook's jacket, and kissed him with months of anger and years of restraint. It was not soft. It was collision. Jungkook's mind emptied. He pulled Jimin closer, feeling the tremor in his body, the heat of him, the desperate certainty of contact after too much distance. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Jimin pressed his forehead to Jungkook's shoulder. I hate that I still wanted to do that. Jungkook held him carefully. I love that you did. Don't get smug. Too late. Jimin almost smiled. Then the stairwell door burst open. Taehyung stood there, blinking. Behind him were Hoseok and Yoongi. A long silence followed. Taehyung slowly raised both hands. I have several thoughts. Hoseok covered his mouth, already laughing. Yoongi looked mildly inconvenienced. Couldn't wait 5 minutes. Jimin stepped back instantly. This is not what it looks like. Taehyung stared. That is the least believable sentence ever spoken. Jungkook groaned. Why are you here? Namjoon's voice came from the doorway behind them. Because the building is on fire metaphorically, and we assumed you two were responsible. He stepped in, took one look at their faces and sighed. Yes, confirmed. For the first time that day, Jimin laughed fully. It echoed through the concrete stairwell, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. And Jungkook realized the world outside might be chaos now. But hearing that sound again felt worth every consequence. By noon, the world had chosen sides. Screens everywhere burned with their names. Headlines multiplied by the minute. Grainy photos, slow-motion edits, furious debates, devoted defenses, moral outrage from strangers who knew nothing, tender messages from strangers who somehow understood too much. Inside the penthouse apartment, where management had ordered them to stay private until further notice, privacy had become a joke. Taehyung lay sprawled across the sofa eating chips like he had arrived for entertainment. Hoseok paced between the windows and kitchen island, phone in hand, reading updates aloud with the dramatic energy of a war reporter. Trending in 23 countries, he announced. No, 26. Wait, 31. Incredible, we are global chaos. Yoongi sat in an armchair with noise-canceling headphones around his neck, and the expression of a man regretting every life choice that led him here. Namjoon stood by the dining table on his third call with legal. Jimin was at the far balcony, arms folded, staring at the city. Jungkook watched him from across the room and felt the distance like a wound. They had kissed. Then they had entered a room full of people and immediately become complicated again. Stop staring and go talk to him, Taehyung said without looking up. I'm not starring. You've blinked twice in 10 minutes. Ho-sok pointed. That's medically concerning. Jungkook ignored them. Yoongi lowered his headphones. If you don't talk soon, I will lock both of you in a closet. Why is violence everyone's first solution today? Jungkook muttered. Because communication failed for years, Yoongi said. Fair. Namjoon ended his call and exhaled sharply. Management wants statements by tonight. No, Jimin said from the balcony without turning. Everyone looked at him. He stepped inside, face calm in a way that usually meant danger. No statements written by committee, no sanitized nonsense, no vague apology for existing. The room went silent. Namjoon rubbed his temple. I agree in principle. In practice, they control distribution. Then let them try. Ho-sok's eyes widened. That tone means disaster. Taehyung grinned. My favorite tone. Jungkook finally crossed the room. Jimin. Jimin glanced at him, then away too quickly. That small avoidance hurt more than yelling would have. We need to talk, Jungkook said. We are talking. No, we're performing normal in front of an audience. Taehyung raised a chip. I feel seen. Jimin sighed. Fine, bedroom now. Ho-sok gasped theatrically. Scandal. Yoongi threw a cushion at him. The bedroom door shut behind them. Silence. Soft afternoon light cut across the floor. The city hummed beyond the glass. Jungkook stood near the door while Jimin remained by the dresser, arms folded again like armor. You're angry, Jungkook said. I'm many things. At me. At everyone. That includes me. Yes. Jungkook nodded slowly. Good, say it. Jimin blinked. What? Say everything you didn't say when everyone else was in the room. For a moment, Jimin looked startled. Then something in him snapped loose. You want everything, he said quietly. Fine. He stepped forward. I'm angry that it took a scandal for you to become brave. Another step. I'm angry that part of me loved seeing you choose me publicly, because I promised myself I wouldn't need that. Another step. I'm angry that I still know exactly how to calm you down when your jaw tightens like that. Jungkook swallowed. And I'm furious, Jimin continued, voice shaking now, that after all this pain, one kiss in a stairwell was enough to make me hopeful again. The final word cracked. Hopeful. It sounded like confession and curse. Jungkook moved closer. Then be angry, but don't punish yourself for hopping. Jimin laughed bitterly. Easy for you to say. No, it's not. Really? Because you always survive by shutting doors. I survive by feeling everything. The truth of it struck hard. Jungkook had survived by compartmentalizing. Jimin had survived by bleeding honestly. I know I hurt you, Jungkook said. You abandon me in small ways, Jimin shot back. Do you know how cruel that is? Not one dramatic betrayal, just tiny disappearances. Moments where I reached and found air. Jungkook's chest tightened so sharply it almost hurt to breathe. I know. No, you know now, that's different. Jimin turned away, hands trembling. There were nights, he said more softly, when I hated myself for wanting you. Jungkook crossed the room in 2 strides. Don't. Jimin spun back. Don't what? Don't say that like wanting me was shameful. It was exhausting. That's not the same. Jimin stared at him, eyes bright with unshed tears. Then he shoved Jungkook hard in the chest. You don't get to sound noble now. Jungkook barely moved. Do it again if it helps. Jimin hit him again, weaker this time. Then once more. By the 3rd shove he was crying. I waited for you, he whispered. I waited and kept telling myself you were scared, not indifferent. Jungkook caught his wrists gently. I was terrified, he said, never indifferent. Jimin's tears fell faster. That almost makes it worse. I know. Stop saying that. I know. Jimin let out a broken laugh despite himself. I hate you. No, you don't. I hate how calm you are. I'm not calm. Jungkook lifted Jimin's hand and pressed it against his chest. His heartbeat pounded wild beneath the fabric. Jimin's expression shifted. There, Jungkook said quietly. That's what you do to me. Jimin's fingers curled involuntarily. The room held still around them. Then someone pounded on the bedroom door. Taehyung's voice boomed through it. Breaking news. Emergency interruption. Jimin groaned. I'm going to kill him. Namjoon called from outside. Actually, don't. We need everyone alive for this. Jungkook opened the door. All four stood there. Hoseok looked grim now. That was fast, he said. Someone released a second set of photos. Jungkook's stomach dropped. What second set? Yoongi held up his phone. There on the screen, the stairwell. Jimin grabbing Jungkook's jacket. Their kiss. Clearer than the first leak. Far clearer. The room went cold. How? Jimin whispered. Taehyung's joking mood vanished. Security camera. Namjoon's jaw clenched. Someone accessed internal footage. Jungkook took the phone with shaking hands. There it was. The private moment they thought belonged only to concrete walls and dim emergency lights. Stolen. Exposed. Weaponized. Jimin looked physically ill. They filmed us, he said. No, Yoongi corrected, voice dangerous. They surveilled us. Hoseok paced again. Online reaction is exploding. Some are supportive, some are vicious, some are inventing stories. Jimin backed away until he hit the wall. Jungkook went to him immediately. Hey. Jimin shook his head. I can't breathe. Look at me. They took it. I know. That was ours. His voice shattered on the last word. Jungkook cupped the back of his neck. Look at me. Jimin finally did. Breathe with me. Slow inhale. Slow exhale. Again. Again. The room faded to just them for a moment. When Jimin steadied, rage replaced panic. I'm done. Namjoon's eyes narrowed. Define done. I'm done letting them own the narrative. I'm done being edited. The phone rang. Manager. No one moved. It rang again. Then again. Yoongi answered and put it on speaker. The manager sounded frantic. Where are they? Here, Yoongi said. Good, listen carefully. Nobody posts anything. Nobody goes live. Nobody speaks to press. Legal is handling the footage leak. Jimin stepped forward. Legal handled it so well the first time. Jimin, not now. No, now is perfect. Do not make this worse. Jimin's smile was terrifyingly calm. You still think silence makes things smaller. Think about your careers. Jungkook spoke before fear could return. Think about your ethics. The line went dead. Hoseok blinked. Wow. Taehyung nodded approvingly. Character growth. Namjoon was already typing on his phone. I'm contacting an independent attorney. Yoongi leaned back. Finally. Jimin looked at Jungkook, stunned. You hung up on management. I did. You challenged them. I did. You're either evolving or having a breakdown. Can it be both? For the first time since seeing the leaked footage, Jimin smiled. Then the apartment lights flickered. Once. Twice. And went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The city outside still glowed, but inside only distant daylight remained. Taehyung cursed. Please tell me this is dramatic timing and not sabotage. A heavy knock thundered at the front door. Everyone froze. Another knock. Harder. Then a voice from the hallway. Open up, security. No one moved. Jimin's hand found Jungkook, in the dark. Namjoon spoke quietly. We didn't call security. The knocking became pounding. Open the door now. Yoongi stood, eyes cold. That's not security. Jungkook stepped in front of Jimin, instinctively. Hoseok grabbed the nearest metal lamp like a weapon. Taehyung whispered, "Well, this escalated beautifully." The pounding shook the door on its hinges. Then came the final sentence, low and threatening through the wood. "We know they're inside." The pounding hit again so hard the framed artwork in the hallway rattled. "We know they're inside." Darkness swallowed the apartment except for strips of city light leaking through the windows. Everyone stood frozen for half a heartbeat, then instinct took over. "Back room," Namjoon said sharply. "No," Yoongi replied at the same time. "We don't split." Hoseok tightened his grip on the metal lamp. "Please tell me somebody knows self-defense beyond choreography." "I know rage," Taehyung said. "Close enough," Hoseok muttered. The pounding came again. "Open this door now." Jimin's fingers clutched Jungkook's hand so hard it hurt. Jungkook squeezed back. "Stay behind me," he said. Jimin glared in the dark. "Try ordering me again and I'll break your nose." Relief flashed through Jungkook despite everything. If Jimin could threaten him, he was still steadying. Namjoon moved toward the intercom panel by the wall. "Dead." "No power," he said. Yoongi's voice went flat and dangerous. "Convenient." Another slam shook the door. Taehyung leaned near the peephole, careful to stay off-center. 3 men, maybe 4, black jackets, no visible badges. "Don't open it," Jimin said immediately. "No one was planning to," Hoseok snapped. A muffled voice from outside changed tone suddenly, smoother now. "We just need to ask a few questions." Taehyung snorted. That made it creepier. Jungkook's mind raced. Press, hired intimidation, obsessive stalkers, corporate damage control wearing masks. The possibilities were somehow all terrible. His phone lit up in his pocket. 1 bar of signal. Unknown number. He answered silently. A whisper came through. "Do not open the door." Jungkook stiffened. "Who is this?" "You have 10 seconds before they try the lock." The line disconnected. "What?" Jimin demanded. Before Jungkook could answer, a metallic scraping came from the front door. "They're picking it," Yoongi said. The room detonated into movement. "Bedroom, now," Namjoon ordered. This time no one argued. They rushed down the hallway as the scraping intensified. Jungkook glanced back once and saw the doorknob twitch. Inside the master bedroom, Namjoon shut the door quietly. "Balcony exit?" Hoseok asked. 30 floors up, Taehyung replied. "Great plan." Jimin was packing, breathing too fast again. Jungkook caught his shoulders. "Look at me." "Don't tell me to calm down." "I wasn't going to." That made Jimin blink. "I was going to say I'm here." The fury in Jimin's face cracked into something rower. A crash exploded from the living room. They all flinched. "They're in," Taehyung whispered. Footsteps. Heavy. Searching. A drawer yanked open, glass breaking, furniture shoved. Yoongi looked around the bedroom quickly. Bathroom. They moved into the attached bathroom, crowding into marble and shadows. Namjoon locked the door. The footsteps got closer. Jimin pressed against the sink beside Jungkook, shoulders tense. In the dimness, his eyes found Jungkook. "This is insane," Jimin breathed. "I know." "There you go again." "I'm trying to be consistent." Against all logic, Jimin almost laughed. The bedroom door outside opened. Silence. Then drawers slamming. Closet doors thrown wide. Someone spoke in the other room. "Check everything." Another voice answered. "Boss said get the phones." Phones. Not kidnapping. Not random. Control. Evidence. Jungkook's stomach turned. Namjoon mouthed one word in the dark. "Corporate." Yoongi's jaw clenched so hard it was visible even in shadow. A hand touched the bathroom doorknob. Everyone stopped breathing. The knob rattled. Once, twice, then a sharp knock. Open up. No one moved. The voice hardened. We know you're in there. Hosok lifted the lamp like a bat. Taehyung quietly grabbed a glass bottle from the vanity. Jimin stepped in front of Jungkook. Jungkook immediately pulled him back behind himself. Jimin hissed, "Stop doing that." "Never." The knob jerked violently. Again. Again. The lock groaned. Namjoon whispered, "When it opens, go low and run left." "Why left?" Hosok whispered back. "No idea." Excellent leadership. The door burst inward. Everything happened at once. A masked man lunged through the opening. Hosok swung the lamp with a shout. Metal cracked against the intruder's shoulder. He staggered sideways, swearing. Taehyung smashed the bottle against the wall beside another man entering behind him. Glass exploded. "Wrong apartment," he said. Yoongi drove forward like compressed fury, slamming the first intruder into the bathtub. Namjoon grabbed Jimin and shoved him toward the bedroom exit. "Move." Jungkook tackled the second masked man at the waist. They crashed into the marble floor hard enough to rattle Jungkook's teeth. The man grunted and reached for Jungkook's throat. Jungkook caught the wrist, muscles straining. "Who sent you?" A fist answered, glancing off Jungkook's cheek in a burst of white pain. Then Jimin was there. He kicked the man in the ribs with terrifying precision. "Get off him." The attacker curled with a cry. Jungkook stared for one stunned second. "You wear expensive shoes for violence." "Focus." More footsteps from the hall. Too many. "Out," Namjoon shouted. They bolted through the bedroom, across the wrecked living room, and into the service corridor behind the kitchen. The apartment door hung open. 2 more figures were entering from the front. "Stairs," Yoongi barked. They sprinted into the emergency stairwell. Down. 30 floors of concrete spiraling, beneath flashing red exit lights. Footsteps thundered above them. "They're following," Hosok yelled. "Why are fit people always evil?" Taehyung gasped. "You're also fit," Jimin snapped. "Not in a stair emergency." Jungkook stayed beside Jimin as they descended. "Are you okay?" "I kicked a man, Jungkook. I feel incredible." Despite the chase, Jungkook laughed. Halfway down, Namjoon stopped abruptly at the 21st floor landing. "No more running blind." "What now?" Hosok panted. Namjoon pointed to the service door. "Laundry room. We cut through and lose them." They shoved through. Industrial washers lined the room like silent machines. Steam hung in the air. Yoongi locked the stair door behind them and jammed a cart under the handle. For a moment, there was only breathing. Then everyone started talking at once. "Did that guy punch you?" "Who even were they?" "My shoulder hurts." "I cannot believe I used a lamp." Jimin grabbed Jungkook's face suddenly, turning it toward the light. A bruise was already forming near his cheekbone. His expression darkened. "He hit you." "I'm fine." "You are not fine." "I've had worse." "That is not comforting." He touched the bruise carefully with his thumb, anger and tenderness mixing in his eyes. Jungkook held his wrist. "You came back for me." Jimin looked offended. "Obviously. You could have run." "I tried that emotionally for years. Didn't enjoy it." Jungkook almost forgot the danger around them. Then the stair door boomed under impact. They all jumped. Another hit. "They found us," Taehyung said. Yoongi looked around the laundry room. "Other exit." Namjoon pointed to a freight elevator. "Maybe." He hit the button. Nothing. No power. "Great," Hosok said. "Love a useless rectangle." Another slam bent the stair handle. Then a voice came through the metal. "You're making this difficult." Jimin stepped toward the door in fury. Jungkook caught him. "No. I just want to talk." "You want to murder someone with fabric softener." Still talking. The handle twisted violently. Namjoon scanned the room fast, then pointed upward. Vent shaft. Everyone looked. A large maintenance vent near the ceiling. Taehyung stared. You want 7 adults to crawl through that. Do you have a better idea? Yes, becoming mist. Yoongi dragged a rolling bin beneath the vent. Move. They climbed one by one. Taehyung complained the entire time. Hoseok nearly slipped and cursed elegantly. Namjoon pushed Jimin up first. Jungkook followed close behind him into the narrow metal duct. The stair door burst open behind them, just as Yoongi hauled himself in last. Boots stormed the laundry room below. Voices echoed. Search it. The duct trembled with each movement. They crawled in darkness, elbows scraping metal, breath loud in enclosed air. Jimin was directly ahead of Jungkook. Still hate me, Jungkook whispered. In this tunnel, deeply. Fair. A pause. Then Jimin's quieter voice floated back. But I was terrified when he hit you. Warmth pierced through adrenaline. I was terrified when you ran toward danger. I wasn't running toward danger. You kicked a criminal. I was running toward you. Jungkook nearly forgot to move. Behind them, Taehyung groaned. If you two reconcile romantically in an air duct, I'm leaving. Please do, Yoongi said. They reached a grate overlooking a dim service garage below. Cars. An exit ramp. Freedom. Namjoon eased the grate open. One by one they dropped down. When Jungkook landed, Jimin stumbled after him and he caught him automatically. Their faces ended inches apart. Neither moved. Then headlights blazed across the garage. A black van screeched around the corner and stopped in front of the exit. Doors slid open. More men stepped out. One slow clap echoed through the concrete. A tall figure in an expensive coat emerged from the passenger side. No mask. Perfect hair. Cold smile. Their senior corporate director. He looked directly at Jungkook and Jimin. You've become very expensive problems, he said. The clap echoed through the parking garage like a gunshot. You've become very expensive problems. The corporate director stepped forward with polished shoes and a smile too calm for the violence surrounding him. His coat looked tailored enough to belong at an awards gala, not in a concrete garage flanked by hired men. Jungkook felt something colder than fear settle into his spine. Recognition. Not of the man himself. They had met dozens of times at polished dinners, boardrooms, backstage congratulations, but of the machinery behind his eyes, the kind that calculated losses before people. Jimin moved first. You sent men into our home. The director glanced at him mildly. Temporary residence. Our home, Jimin repeated. The director's smile thinned. Words can be emotional things. Taehyung muttered, I dislike him instantly. Yoongi's expression was unreadable. Get in line. Namjoon stepped forward, putting himself slightly ahead of the others. You committed assault, unlawful entry, and surveillance. I prevented escalation. You created it, Namjoon replied. The director ignored him and looked at Jungkook. You've always been the practical one. Tell your friends to hand over their phones and come quietly. We'll clean this up. Jungkook's jaw tightened. Come quietly. The phrase sounded less like negotiation and more like ownership. Jimin laughed softly beside him. It was not a happy sound. There he is, Jimin said, the real voice. The director's eyes flicked to him. And there you are, the emotional catalyst. Hoseok took a step forward. Try speaking like that again and see what happens. Oh, the director asked. You'll dance aggressively at me. Taehyung cracked his knuckles. I'm suddenly pro-violence again. Namjoon lifted an arm slightly, holding everyone back. The director sighed as if inconvenienced. Let's stop pretending this is moral theater. You signed contracts. We built your careers. We protected you from scandal, from legal chaos, from public ruin. Yoongi's voice cut through the garage like steel. You protected your investment. The director looked amused. And yet you all benefited. Jimin stepped closer before anyone could stop him. Do you know what your people stole today? The director shrugged. Footage. No, Jimin said, eyes burning. A private moment. The man's face remained composed. Privacy is a luxury attached to relevance. Even the hired men behind him shifted uneasily at that sentence. Jungkook felt rage rise so cleanly it surprised him. All the years of smiling through discomfort, all the swallowed moments, all the careful obedience mistaken for gratitude. He walked forward until he stood beside Jimin. No. The director studied him. No, he repeated. No more. A faint crease formed between the man's brows. You're emotional tonight. I'm clear tonight. The director's tone cooled. Then let me be clear too. If you continue this rebellion, sponsorships vanish, projects freeze, litigation begins, your names become cautionary tales. Taehyung leaned toward Hoseok. He really rehearsed villain lines. I think he practices in mirrors, Hoseok whispered back. The director snapped. Silence. Yoongi smiled without warmth. You first. Jungkook looked around the garage. Concrete pillars. Black van. Men waiting for orders. His members beside him. Jimin breathing hard but steady. Then he looked back at the director. You think fear still works because it worked before. It works on everyone, the director replied. Jungkook shook his head. It worked on me, past tense. Jimin turned sharply toward him. Even now, in danger, those words mattered. The director's smile vanished completely. Phones, he said to the men behind him. 3 of them advanced. Then tires screamed from the far entrance. Everyone turned. A second vehicle shot down the ramp, a battered white delivery truck moving far too fast. It swerved sideways between both groups, brakes shrieking, and stopped in a cloud of rubber smoke. The back doors burst open. A woman jumped out in jeans, boots, and a baseball cap pulled low. She held up a camera. Smile, she shouted. You're all on live stream. Chaos detonated. The hired men recoiled instantly. The director spun around. What? The woman grinned fiercely and pulled off the cap. Jungkook recognized her after one stunned second. Mina Park, former internal media strategist. Rumored fired 2 years ago after exposing financial misconduct. Taehyung blinked. Why do rebels always look cooler than expected? Mina pointed the camera directly at the director. Good evening, Internet. I'm here with executives conducting midnight intimidation operations against their own artists. The director lunged for her. Namjoon intercepted him with a shove. Don't touch her. Phones came out from everyone at once. Even the hired men looked panicked now that cameras were everywhere. Mina tossed spare phones toward the group. Signal jammers are down. Use them. Hoseok caught one midair. I love her. Jimin grabbed another and immediately began recording. Say it again, he called to the director. Privacy is a luxury attached to relevance. That was a strong quote. The man's face drained of color. Turn that off. Why? Jimin asked sweetly, feeling private. Yoongi barked a laugh. The director pointed at his men. Take the devices. None of them moved. They were being filmed by thousands now. Taehyung spread his arms dramatically. Loyalty has left the building. Mina moved beside Jungkook. I have copies of the stairwell footage logs, access records, payment trails for private contractors, and emails approving pressure tactics. Jungkook stared. Why help us? Her expression hardened. Because I watched them do this to people for years, and because no one stopped them. Jimin's voice turned quiet. Until now. Sirens wailed faintly above. Growing louder. The director heard them too. His control finally cracked. "You idiots have no idea what collapse looks like." Namjoon answered calmly. "Maybe, but you do." The man glared at Jungkook. "This ends your career." Jungkook looked at Jimin, then at the members beside him, then back. "Maybe it begins my life." The sirens entered the garage. 2 police vehicles rolled down the ramp, followed by reporters who must have tracked the live stream. Lights flashed blue across concrete walls. Microphones appeared like weapons. Questions flew. Did management order surveillance? Were artists threatened? Is there a cover-up? Are you two together? That last one came from 3 directions at once. Jimin visibly tensed. Jungkook felt it. The old fear rose again. Public labels, distortion, feeding strangers pieces of something sacred. Then he remembered the stolen footage. Silence had not protected anything. He reached for Jimin's hand. Jimin looked at him sharply. This time there was no boardroom, no dramatic audience of executives to defy. Only chaos, cameras, uncertainty. A harder moment. Jungkook held out his hand anyway. Jimin stared for 1 breath. 2. Then took it. Reporters shouted louder. Flashbulbs exploded. The director cursed under his breath. Jimin leaned close enough that only Jungkook could hear. "You always pick the loudest possible timing." Jungkook murmured back, "You still took my hand." "I'm furious about it." "Noted." Police moved toward the director and his men, separating people, demanding statements. Mina was already handing over files. Namjoon spoke with officers. Yoongi lit, a cigarette he would definitely be told to put out. Hoseok was somehow giving an interview while fixing his hair. Taehyung posed accidentally in the background of 3 live broadcasts. Jimin pulled Jungkook away from the swarm toward a quieter pillar. The noise dimmed. For the first time all night, they were briefly alone. Jimin let go of his hand, only to grab Jungkook's jacket. "You said it." "What?" "My life." Jungkook's heartbeat kicked harder. "I meant it." Jimin searched his face. "And tomorrow, when the internet turns crueler, I'll still mean it. When contracts vanish, I'll still mean it. When I'm difficult." Jungkook almost smiled. "Then nothing changes." Jimin's eyes glistened unexpectedly. "You idiot." "I know." "Stop saying that." "I know." Jimin kissed him hard enough to shut him up. The garage, the cameras, the sirens, the collapse of empires. Everything vanished for a moment into warmth and relief and the terrifying possibility of joy. When they broke apart, Jimin touched the bruise on Jungkook's cheek. "You're going to ice that?" "Yes." "And sleep?" "Yes." "And stop trying to sacrifice yourself every 10 minutes. No promises." Jimin narrowed his eyes. Dangerous answer. Jungkook smiled. Then Mina shouted from across the garage. "You two may want to see this now." They turned. She held up a tablet, displaying a breaking news alert. "Emergency board vote ANNOUNCED. CEO RESIGNS. Internal documents leaked." Below it, another headline was already rising faster. JUNGKOK and JIMIN, seen holding hands amid corporate scandal. Taehyung whooped. Hoseok screamed. Yoongi muttered, "Humanity is unserious." Jimin looked at the headlines, then at Jungkook. "We just broke the company." Jungkook glanced around the flashing lights, the panicked executives, the celebrating chaos of friends. Then back at him. "No," he said softly, "it was already broken." And as dawn began to pale the edges of the city beyond the garage ramp, they stood in the wreckage of one world with no idea how to build the next. Dawn did not feel gentle. It arrived harsh and colorless through the glass walls of the legal office where they had been taken after the garage. The city outside looked washed clean by morning, But inside the conference room, every surface held the residue of war. Coffee cups, open laptops, security footage paused on screens, legal drafts stacked like weapons, phones vibrating nonstop. No one had slept. Jungkook sat at the end of the table with an ice pack against his cheek. The bruise had deepened into violet. Jimin sat beside him, knees angled outward, one hand drumming restlessly on his thigh. Every few seconds that hand would stop, drift unconsciously toward Jungkook, then retreat again. Still learning how to exist in daylight. Namjoon was reading contracts with terrifying focus. Yoongi had fallen asleep upright for exactly 11 minutes, and now looked angrier for having rested. Hoseok somehow remained stylish despite visible collapse. Taehyung was eating pastries provided by expensive lawyers, as if chaos increased appetite. Mina stood by the screen, connecting files. We have enough evidence to trigger criminal investigations, labor violations, coercion claims, unlawful surveillance, intimidation, and breach of privacy. Taehyung raised a pastry. You had me at criminal. One of the attorneys adjusted her glasses. There's also a strategic issue. Everyone looked at her. The company plans to frame this as rogue behavior by one director. Isolate blame, preserve structure, remove him, move on. Yoongi scoffed. Classic. They'll offer settlements, apologies, reforms, and ask you to return quietly. Jimin's laugh was immediate and cold. Return to what? The attorney met his gaze. To power, most people do. Jungkook looked at Jimin then. He knew that laugh. It meant hurt disguised as contempt. Mina clicked the remote. A new screen appeared. Projected revenue losses. Brand impact estimates. Media sentiment charts. Then another page. Individual risk profiles. Their names listed one by one. Jungkook frowned. What is that? Mina's jaw tightened. Internal leverage documents. Namjoon's voice dropped. Leverage. She nodded. They tracked your vulnerabilities, public image pressure points, family sensitivity, dating rumors, mental health history, injury fears, contract deadlines, anything usable. The room went dead silent. Even Taehyung stopped chewing. Jimin stood so fast his chair skidded backward. They made profiles on us. Yes. Like products. No, Mina said quietly. Products are treated better. Jungkook felt nausea rise. Years of feeling managed, nudged, redirected, now given language. Yoongi took off his headphones slowly. Show me mine. Mina hesitated, then opened the file. Subject, Min Yongi. Responds poorly to overt control. Use indirect pressure. Incentivize through group burden and production access. Yoongi stared at the screen for 3 long seconds. Then smiled. Everyone in the room stiffened. Because Yoongi only smiled like that when someone was about to regret existing. Interesting, he said softly. Hoseok whispered. That's his murder voice. Mine, Jimin said now. Mina switched files. Subject, Park Jae-mayan. High empathy. Susceptible to emotional guilt regarding group harmony. Strong need to be chosen personally. Can be redirected through exclusion anxiety. Jimin went pale. The room tilted for Jungkook. Strong need to be chosen personally. They had studied him. Named wounds he carried privately. Weaponized them professionally. Jimin's lips parted but no sound came out. Jungkook stood immediately. Turn it off. Jimin shook his head. No. His voice was thin. No, keep going. Jimin. Keep going. Mina looked at him carefully, then nodded and changed files. Subject, Jiunjikoke. Conflict avoidant when relational stakes are high. Fear of disappointing authority. Responsive to praise withdrawal cycles. Will self-sacrifice to maintain system stability. Jungkook felt as if someone had reached into his chest and read aloud from a diary he never wrote. Jimin looked at him sharply. Praise withdrawal cycles, he said. Jungkook looked away. The attorney spoke gently. These documents indicate psychological manipulation over time. No one answered. Because everyone already knew. They just had not seen it printed. Taehyung stood and walked to the window. I need 5 minutes before I start breaking furniture. Hosuk sat down hard. I thought I was dramatic for years. Turns out I was clinically managed. Namjoon closed his file and removed his glasses. His eyes were burning. They knew exactly where to press. Yes, Mina said. And they called it management. The door opened. Everyone turned. A young assistant entered, pale and nervous. There's someone here insisting to see you. No one sees us, the attorney said. He says he's family. Jungkook's stomach dropped. Seconds later, his older brother stepped into the room. Jungkook shot to his feet. Hyung. His brother looked exhausted, coat half buttoned, eyes furious. You didn't answer your phone. You were attacked on live stream. The room quietly evaporated around them. His brother crossed the room and grabbed Jungkook's shoulders, checking the bruise. What else happened? I'm okay. That mark says otherwise. Jungkook almost laughed from relief. Then his brother noticed Jimin standing nearby. Recognition passed silently. He had heard names before. Seen glances at family dinners. Watched years of unfinished sentences. He looked between them once. Then back at Jungkook. Is he why you finally look awake? Jungkook blinked. What? His brother sighed. You've been sleepwalking for years. The room collectively pretended not to listen and failed completely. Jimin looked stunned. Hyung, Jungkook warned. What? We're all sharing truths apparently. Then his brother turned to Jimin and bowed slightly. Thank you. Jimin froze. For what? For staying near him when he was impossible. Taehyung choked on air laughing. Jungkook groaned. Please leave. No. His brother pointed at him. You think protecting everyone means carrying everything silently. It makes you noble in your own head and unbearable in reality. Hosuk whispered, this family communicates violently too. Jimin covered his mouth, trying not to smile. Jungkook glared. You came here to insult me. I came here, his brother said, softer now, to tell you I'm proud of you. The room stilled. Jungkook's throat tightened unexpectedly. For what? For finally disappointing the right people. Silence. Then Jimin looked away quickly, eyes bright. Jungkook swallowed hard. Hyung. His brother hugged him abruptly. Jungkook hugged back like a child, for one brief second, before embarrassment returned. Okay enough, he muttered. Never. When they separated, his brother glanced at the room. Also, whoever leaked those psychological files should leak everything. Mina raised a hand, working on it. I like her, he said. Then he left as abruptly as he had arrived. The door shut. No one spoke for several beats. Taehyung finally broke first. Your family is incredible. They're exhausting, Jungkook muttered. Jimin was still looking at the closed door. He knew, Jimin said quietly. Knew what? Jimin turned to him. About me. Jungkook hesitated. Maybe. And you never told me. I didn't know how. Jimin laughed once in disbelief. Everyone around us knew except us. That feels inaccurate. You know what I mean. He did. The attorney cleared her throat. There is another issue. No one had energy left, but everyone looked. She slid over a tablet. A new headline filled the screen. Former trainee, CLAIMS secret relationship, caused favoritism and group division. Below it was a blurry interview clip with a masked figure. Jimin's expression hardened instantly. Lie. Yes, Mina said. Likely coordinated smear. Namjoon's jaw clenched. They're shifting scandal into gossip warfare. Yoongi stood. Then we hit first. The attorney nodded slowly. You have one chance to define this publicly before they bury it under rumor. All eyes turned, inevitably, to Jungkook and Jimin. The center of the storm. Jimin looked at Jungkook. No scripts. No lies, Jungkook answered. No vague statements. No hiding. Hoseok blinked dramatically. Are you two about to go live and destroy capitalism? Taehyung grinned. Please say yes. Namjoon folded his arms. If we do this, we do it together. Yoongi nodded once. All of us. Jimin looked around the room at every face. Family forged in impossible places. Then back to Jungkook. Still choosing loudly. Jungkook stepped closer. This time I want to choose clearly. Something in Jimin softened. Then alarms shrieked through the building. Everyone jolted. Red emergency lights began flashing in the hallway. Smoke drifted faintly under the conference room door. The assistant screamed outside. Mina checked her phone and swore. The lower lobby just lost power. Namjoon was already moving. Everyone up, now. The attorney grabbed files. Taehyung grabbed pastries. Priorities, Yoongi muttered. The hallway beyond was filling with smoke and shouting. Sprinklers had not activated. Jimin caught Jungkook's wrist. This is not random. Jungkook looked into the growing haze. He knew it too. Someone had failed to silence them quietly. Now they were trying chaos instead. Smoke rolled through the hallway in slow gray waves, thickening by the second. The alarm screamed overhead with mechanical indifference. People poured from nearby offices in confusion, lawyers clutching laptops, assistants in heels stumbling, security staff shouting contradictory directions. Red emergency lights pulsed across walls and faces, turning everyone into fragments of panic. This way, someone yelled. No, elevators are dead. Where's the stairwell key? There shouldn't be a stairwell key. Taehyung held a pastry in one hand and looked personally offended. I knew rich buildings were useless. Namjoon took control instantly. Phones on flashlight, stay together. No one disappears. Yoongi muttered, if anyone disappears, I'm billing them. Jungkook pulled off his jacket and handed it to Jimin. Cover your mouth. Jimin glared. And you? I'll breathe expensive smoke. This is why you need supervision. He took the jacket anyway and wrapped it over both their noses for a second, forcing them close enough to share air. Even now, Jungkook nearly smiled. Mina rushed back from the corridor, coughing. Lobbies blocked, fire doors sealed. Actual fire, Hoseok asked. Small blaze near electrical room, she said, but too neat, too placed. Arson. No one said it aloud. They moved down the hall in a tight cluster. Sprinklers still had not activated. That alone made the situation feel sinister. Jungkook's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. He answered while moving. A familiar, calm voice spoke. You're still in the building. The corporate director. Jungkook's entire body went cold. What do you want? To help. Jimin heard enough to stiffen instantly. Give me the phone. The director continued. You have 10 minutes before smoke reaches upper ventilation. Roof access remains open. Jungkook said nothing. You should know, the man added. Some of your friends are liabilities under pressure. The line went dead. Jimin snatched the phone. What did he say? He says roof access is open. Yoongi's eyes narrowed. Then it's a trap. Namjoon nodded. Probably. Mina pointed down the corridor. Basement archive stairs may still be manual access. Taehyung groaned. So choices are roof trap or murder basement. Correct, Mina said. Hoseok sighed. I miss normal scandals. Another explosion sounded below them. The building shook. Screams echoed up the stairwell shaft, somewhere nearby. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's wrist harder. No basement. Why? Because if this is coordinated, they'll expect us to avoid the roof. Namjoon glanced at him sharply. Jimin continued, mind racing now. Think like them, public chaos downstairs, panic routes blocked. If we choose the hidden route and vanish, they control the narrative. Yoongi folded his arms. Go on. If we go up and they trap us publicly, witnesses still exist. Mina stared. That's annoyingly smart. Jimin gave a thin smile. I'm furious, not stupid. Jungkook looked at him with open admiration. Jimin noticed and scowled. Don't be charmed during arson. Too late. They ran for the north stairwell. Smoke thickened as they climbed. 32nd floor. 33rd. Each landing hotter than the last. Hoseok coughed. If I survive this, I'm becoming difficult forever. You already are, Yoongi said. By the 35th floor, the stairwell door above them slammed open. Everyone froze. Footsteps descended. Vast. Jungkook stepped in front instinctively. 3 figures emerged through smoke. Security uniforms. Hands raised. Wait, one shouted. Real security. Taehyung whispered, we need better branding. The lead guard pulled off his mask, coughing. Mina. She blinked. Diho. He nodded. I got your message. You know him? Namjoon asked. Former compliance officer, Mina said. One of the honest ones. Low bar, Yoongi muttered. Diho looked grim. Fire alarms were manually delayed. CCTV looped. Someone locked lower exits remotely. Can you unlock them? Namjoon asked. Trying, but roof pad is also open. Jimin and Jungkook exchanged a glance. The director had told the truth. Which made it worse. Diho lowered his voice. He's on the roof. Everyone went still. Waiting with media contacts, Diho continued. He wants a staged reconciliation. You appear beside him, thank leadership, denounce misinformation, promise unity. Taehyung laughed in disbelief. He committed crimes and scheduled a press conference. Bold, Hoseok said. Insane, Namjoon corrected. Jimin's eyes turned dangerous. He wants us smiling beside him. Yoongi cracked his neck. Now I'm interested. Diho handed Mina a keycard. Service access gets you to roof door. Jungkook frowned. Why help us? The guard looked tired. Because I have daughters, and I'd like them to grow up seeing at least one rich man lose. Yoongi nodded approvingly. Good answer. They continued upward together. The final stairwell to the roof was quieter. No alarms here. No smoke. Just the low moan of wind through concrete seams. At the roof door, everyone paused. Mina checked the handle. Unlocked. Of course. Namjoon looked around the group. No impulsive heroics. Every eye turned slowly toward Jungkook. What? He said. Jimin pointed at him. Especially you. I'm deeply offended by your accuracy. Mina pushed the door open. Wind hit them hard. The roof stretched wide under a pale morning sky. Helicopter noise thudded in the distance. Temporary lights had been set up near the helipad, cameras on tripods, 2 freelance reporters, 3 bodyguards. And at the center, coat flapping in the wind, stood the director. He smiled as if hosting an event. You made the smart choice. Jimin walked forward before anyone could stop him. No, he said, we made the loud one. The reporters instantly turned cameras toward them. The director spread his hands warmly. There they are, rumors can end now. Jungkook felt sick at the performance. The man truly believed reality was negotiable, if staged convincingly enough. We're live in 60 seconds, one reporter called. The director lowered his voice. Stand beside me, say you were emotionally distressed. Confirm no coercion occurred, blame opportunists. And if we do, Namjoon asked. The director's smile remained. Contracts freeze, defamation suits begin, family finances become difficult, immigration reviews for staff, endless friction. The wind seemed to sharpen. Threats again, always dressed in business language. Jimin stepped so close their faces were inches apart. "You built a career exploiting fear," he said softly. "Did you ever notice how small it made you?" The director's jaw twitched. "Careful." "No," Jimin said. "You be careful." He turned to the cameras. The director grabbed his arm. Jungkook moved instantly. He seized the man's wrist and tore it away from Jimin. "Don't touch him." Bodyguards surged forward. Yoongi and Taehyung intercepted without hesitation. Hoseok shoved a camera stand between two guards. Chaos erupted. Namjoon shouted for everyone to back off. One reporter kept filming gleefully. Mina snatched the nearest microphone and thrust it into Jimin's hand. "Talk." Jimin stared once, then lifted it. The roof fell strangely still. He was shaking. Not from fear. From years. "My name is Park Jimin," he said into the wind, voice carrying across cameras and skyline. "I am not a rumor. I am not a leverage point. I am not an emotional weakness in someone else's file." The reporters stopped moving. Even the bodyguards hesitated. Jimin's eyes found Jungkook. "And I am done apologizing for caring deeply." Jungkook felt his throat tighten. The director barked, "Cut the feed." Mina shouted back, streaming to 6 platforms. Jimin continued. "We were monitored, manipulated, threatened, and told gratitude should look like silence." His voice grew steadier, stronger. "No more." He lowered the microphone and handed it to Jungkook. Every old fear returned at once. Cameras. Expectation. Words that could not be unsaid. Jimin watched him. Not asking. Trusting. Jungkook took the mic. "My whole life," he began, voice rough, "I thought keeping peace meant hiding truth." Wind tore at his hair. "I hurt people I loved because I was afraid conflict would destroy everything." Jimin's eyes widened slightly. This was not a statement. This was confession. Jungkook looked directly into the cameras. "The truth is simpler. Fear destroys more than honesty ever could." Then he turned toward Jimin fully. The entire roof seemed to hold its breath. "I should have chosen you sooner." No one moved. Jimin's lips parted. The director shouted something furious in the background, unheard beneath the roaring blood in Jungkook's ears. Jimin crossed the distance in 3 steps and kissed him in front of every camera on the roof. Wind whipped around them. Somebody gasped. Taehyung screamed, "Finally." Hoseok began applauding wildly. Yoongi looked almost emotional and hated it. When they broke apart, Jimin touched Jungkook's bruised cheek gently. "You dramatic, reckless idiot." Jungkook smiled shakily. "You keep rewarding it." Police sirens rose below. Again. This time louder. Multiple vehicles. Deho looked over the ledge. "They're here." The director backed away toward the helipad, face pale with rage. "This isn't over." Mina laughed. "It's archived forever." He turned and ran for a waiting helicopter. Taehyung blinked. "He has an escape helicopter." "Of course he does," Yoongi said. "Evil loves theatrics." The blades began spinning. Police flooded the roof access door below. Officers shouted commands. The director sprinted toward the aircraft, then stopped dead. Someone had stepped out of it. An older woman in a charcoal suit. Elegant, sharp-eyed, controlled. The company chairwoman. The director's mother. She looked at the cameras, the police, her son, then at Jungkook and Jimin still standing together. Finally, she spoke one icy sentence. "You embarrassed me." The helicopter blades kept spinning, chopping the morning air into violent bursts. No one moved. The director stood frozen 3 steps from escape, pale beneath the wash of rotating lights. Across from him, the chairwoman lowered her sunglasses with deliberate calm and looked at her son the way a judge looks at a sentence already decided. "You embarrassed me." The words landed harder than any scream. Even the police officers paused. The director recovered first. "Mother, this is being manipulated." She glanced once at the cameras, the live stream rigs, the police, the shattered remains of his authority. "Clearly," she said, "by you." Taehyung whispered to Hosok, "This family needs therapy and prison." "Maybe combo package," Hosok whispered back. The chairwoman stepped off the helicopter platform in immaculate heels, as if walking into a board luncheon rather than a public collapse. She looked at Jungkook and Jimin, then at the others, then at Mina. Recognition sharpened in her gaze. "You," she said. Mina folded her arms. "Me. I remember recommending you be silenced quietly." Mina smiled. "You should have recommended competence instead." Yoongi made a sound, suspiciously close to admiration. Police moved forward. "Ma'am, we need statements from everyone present." She did not even look at them. "You'll have legal cooperation within the hour." Then she turned back to her son. "You used contractors to contain reputational damage. You used criminals to preserve enterprise value. You got caught." That, more than anything, seemed to shame him. "Mother." She raised one finger. He stopped speaking instantly. Jimin watched the exchange with naked disgust. "So that's where he learned it." The chairwoman's eyes slid to him. "And you are the emotional trigger." Silence detonated. Jungkook stepped forward immediately. "No." Her gaze shifted to him. "No," she repeated, coolly amused. "He is a person," Jungkook said, voice low and steady. "Try using one sentence without reducing someone." Something unreadable flickered across her face. Then she smiled faintly. "Interesting. They said you were obedient." "Past tense seems popular today," Yoongi muttered. The chairwoman clasped her hands behind her back. "Let me simplify matters. My son is finished. Publicly, internally, legally, perhaps." She looked toward the cameras. "A necessary sacrifice." Her son stared at her in disbelief. "You're replacing me." "I'm surviving you." The director's composure finally cracked. "You knew the surveillance protocols existed." A tiny shift in the air. Mina's jaw tightened. Namjoon went still. The chairwoman answered carefully. "I knew systems existed." "You approved them." "I approved outcomes." "There it is," Jimin said sharply. "The bloodless language." The director laughed suddenly, almost hysterically. "They think I'm the villain," he pointed at his mother. "She built all of it." Police officers exchanged glances. Reporters surged closer. The chairwoman's eyes became knives. "You will lower your voice." "No." He took another step toward her, years of resentment bursting through polish. "You taught me people are numbers. Loyalty is leverage. Fear is efficient." She did not blink. "And yet you still managed to become disappointing." Taehyung whispered, "This is the scariest woman alive." Hosok nodded rapidly. "Confirmed." The director turned toward the cameras. "You want truth." She authorized private monitoring of every high-value artist for years. Emotional profiles, relationship mapping, controlled leaks, manufactured dating scandals to redirect press. Gasps. Mina closed her eyes briefly. "There it is." The chairwoman's face remained almost serene. "Can you prove any of that?" she asked. Mina lifted a hard drive. "Yes." The chairwoman looked at Mina fully for the first time. "You really should have stayed bought. I was never for sale." Police moved in closer now, sensing the scale changing beneath them. Jungkook looked at Jimin. Jimin looked furious, wounded, strangely calm. "How long did they watch us?" he asked quietly. No one answered. That silence was answer enough. Jungkook felt rage unlike anything before it. Not hot. Cold. Systematic. He took one step toward the chairwoman. You knew people were being broken. She met his gaze without flinching. I knew careers were being managed. You knew I was manipulated. I knew you were profitable. Jimin inhaled sharply. Namjoon closed his eyes once. Yoongi's hands curled. The chairwoman continued, almost conversationally. You mistake kindness for leadership. This industry is appetite. We simply fed it efficiently. Jimin walked forward until he stood beside Jungkook. No, he said, you fed it people. The reporters went wild. Questions flew. Did the board know? Were idols blackmailed? Who approved surveillance? Were relationships targeted? The chairwoman raised a hand. And somehow, people quieted. Power hid habits. I am prepared, she said smoothly, to announce an independent ethics reform panel, immediate compensation review, artist protections, and my son's permanent removal. Her son barked a bitter laugh. You burn me to save the throne. I'd burn anything necessary. The honesty of it was monstrous. Taehyung actually shivered. Then the chairwoman looked directly at Jungkook and Jimin. In return, I would appreciate proportional restraint from those most emotionally involved. There it was. The offer. Money dressed as morality. Jimin smiled with terrifying softness. You think we're negotiating because we finally matter to ourselves. The chairwoman's gaze sharpened. Young man, everyone negotiates. No, Jimin said. Only people who think everything has a price. Jungkook felt pride hit him so hard it almost hurt. He reached for Jimin's hand openly. Jimin took it without looking. The chairwoman noticed. For the first time, something close to irritation touched her expression. Public sentiment is fickle, she said. Today you are symbols, tomorrow you are fatigue. Jungkook answered before fear could. Then tomorrow will still be human. A strange silence followed. Even the wind seemed to pause. The chairwoman looked at him for a long moment. Then at her son. Then at the police. Arrest him if procedure requires it. The director stared. You can't be serious. I can be efficient. 2 officers approached him. He backed away in disbelief. You made me this. No, she said. I refined you. As they cuffed him, he twisted toward Jungkook and Jimin with raw hatred. You think love protects you, he shouted. They'll consume it, they consume everything. Jimin held his gaze. Maybe, he said, but at least it was ours first. The director was dragged away. Cameras flashed like lightning. The chairwoman turned to leave for the helicopter. Mina called out, running already. She paused, then faced them one last time. You all seem to believe exposing rot changes institutions. Her eyes moved across each face. It doesn't. It only changes who profits next. She stepped toward the helicopter. Yoongi finally spoke. Maybe. She stopped. But it also changes who refuses. For the first time, she had no immediate answer. Then she entered the helicopter. The blades roared louder. As it lifted away, wind tore across the roof, scattering papers, dust, and the last illusion that any of this had been personal rather than systemic. When the noise faded, the roof felt suddenly enormous and quiet. Police escorted reporters back. Lawyers shouted into phones. Mina was already coordinating document releases. Namjoon sat on a concrete block and laughed once from pure exhaustion. Hoseok lay flat on the roof dramatically. Taehyung took selfies with emergency lights in the background. Yoongi lit another cigarette and immediately got yelled at by an officer. Jimin stood near the edge of the roof, staring at the city. Jungkook joined him. For a while neither spoke. Below them, streets moved as if nothing historic had cracked above. I'm angry, Jimin said finally. I know, At them. I know. At you a little. Fair. At myself too. Jungkook turned to him. Why? For waiting. Jungkook's chest tightened. Then we're both guilty of time. Jimin looked at him, eyes wet from wind or feeling. You said it in front of everyone. I should have said it years ago. You really love dramatic suffering. I'm trying to transition into dramatic healing. Jimin laughed through the tears, threatening him. Then he touched Jungkook's bruise again. You keep getting injured during emotional growth. Occupational hazard. Jimin's smile faded into something softer. What happens now? Jungkook looked at the waking city. No company script. No schedule. Probably chaos. No certainty. None. Jimin exhaled. Then nodded. Good. Jungkook blinked. Good. I'm tired of certainty built by cages. The words settled between them like truth. He cupped Jimin's face gently. This kiss was nothing like the stairwell. Nothing like the rooftop confession. No desperation. No performance. Just two people choosing slowly in daylight. When they parted, Hosok shouted from across the roof, I hate how invested I am. Taehyung added, do it again, the angle was bad. Jimin groaned, I want new friends. You have old family, Namjoon said, approaching with tired affection. Mina followed behind him, holding a tablet. Then family should know this immediately. She turned the screen toward them. A new breaking alert scrolled across it. Board emergency session, REMOVES chairwoman after data dump. Interim leadership seeks talent, NEGOTATONS. Another headline appeared beneath it. Private files reveal multiple ARTISDs secretly targeted. Then a third. Anonymous source claims one member BTRAYD, the group YEARS ago. Everyone froze. Taehyung lowered his phone. Hosok sat up. Namjoon's face changed. Yoongi removed the cigarette from his mouth slowly. Jimin looked at the screen, then at the others. What anonymous source? Mina swallowed. The file names mention an internal code name. She zoomed in. Project Nightingale. And beneath it, one attached note. Cooperating member compensated. Identity sealed. The roof changed temperature in an instant. Wind still moved. Sirens still echoed below. Reporters still shouted from distant barricades. But inside the circle of 7 people staring at Mina's tablet, everything froze. Project Nightingale. Cooperating member compensated. Identity sealed. No one breathed. Taehyung was the first to speak, voice stripped of humor. What is that? Mina looked shaken for the first time since arriving. I don't know yet. The files are partially encrypted. Yoongi held out his hand. Give me the tablet. She did. He read in silence, jaw tightening by degrees. Hosok stood slowly from where he had been lying on the roof. Please tell me this is fake. Namjoon's face had gone unreadable, the most dangerous version of him. Maybe, he said quietly, maybe not. Jimin looked from one face to another, reading shifts too subtle for most people. Then his eyes landed on Jungkook. Jungkook felt the look like impact. What? He asked. You tell me. The words were calm. Too calm. I don't know anything about this. Jimin held his gaze another second, then looked away. That hurt more than accusation. Taehyung laughed once without joy. Amazing. We destroy a corporation by sunrise, and now maybe one of us sold the map years ago. No one say anything stupid, Namjoon said. Then hurry, Yoongi replied, because emotions are gaining speed. Mina scrolled. There are date stamps. When? Hosok asked. She swallowed. 3 years ago. Silence slammed down again. 3 years ago. Everyone knew what that meant. The hardest year. Contract renewals. Burnout. Private fractures no one outside had fully understood. Every smile in public carrying hidden weight. Jungkook's mind raced through memory. Who disappeared often? Who was suddenly protected? Who received strange schedule exceptions? Who seemed watched? Who seemed exhausted? Then another darker thought arrived. Who had motive? No, Jungkook said aloud, more to himself than anyone. Jimin folded his arms. That's useful clarity. Jungkook turned sharply. You think it was me? I think I don't know who any of us were when survival got ugly. The sentence landed brutally because it was true. Namjoon stepped between them before the tension could ignite. We are not doing this based on one line in one file. Taehyung's eyes narrowed at no one and everyone. Then why do I already feel lied to? Yoongi handed the tablet back to Mina. Can we decrypt the rest? Yes, but it'll take time. How much? Hours, maybe less. Then until then, Namjoon said, voice firm, nobody accuses anybody. Hoseok let out a breathless laugh. You really think that order can still work? Before Namjoon could answer, Jungkook's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Everyone saw it. Jimin's expression changed instantly. Don't. Jungkook hesitated. It buzzed again. Then again. Yoongi said flatly, speaker. Jungkook answered and put it on speaker. Static. Then a distorted voice. Curious morning. No one moved. Who is this? Namjoon asked. A witness. Say your name, Yoongi snapped. Names are expensive. Taehyung muttered, I hate mystery men. The voice continued. Nightingale was real. One of you fed information. Schedules, conflicts, weaknesses. In return, debts vanished. Hoseok's face drained. What debts? The voice laughed softly. Exactly. Jimin stepped closer to the phone. Why tell us now? Because betrayal ages badly. The line clicked dead. Jungkook lowered the phone slowly. No one spoke. Then Hoseok did. Debts. All eyes turned to him because he had asked too fast. His expression hardened immediately. Oh wow, he said. That was fast. We're already doing witch hunts. No one said your name, Taehyung replied. You all looked. Taehyung didn't deny it. Namjoon rubbed his face. We need to leave this roof. Yes, Mina said quickly. Press is regrouping below and internal security is unstable. Jimin was still watching Jungkook. That look again. Measured. Searching. Not trusting enough. Jungkook hated how much it mattered. They moved downstairs under police escort to a secured media room in the adjacent building. The room was too bright, too clean, too cold. No windows. Just couches, bottled water and silence sharp enough to cut skin. Everyone separated instinctively. Taehyung by the wall. Yoongi near the door. Hoseok packing. Namjoon standing still at the center like a pillar under strain. Jimin seated alone. Jungkook remained standing because sitting felt impossible. Mina worked at a laptop in the corner, typing rapidly. Say something, Taehyung suddenly snapped. No one knew to whom. So everyone flinched. He looked at all of them. For years we said we were family. Families fight fine, families break maybe, but families don't sell each other. Yoongi's voice was low. You don't know that. Taehyung turned on him. Do you? Yoongi held his stare. I know desperation. Hoseok stopped packing. There were debts, he said quietly. Everyone looked at him. He laughed once, ashamed. Mine, gambling by my father, old medical loans for a relative, stuff I handled privately. Jimin frowned. Why privately? Because I was embarrassed. His voice cracked slightly. Because being the bright one gets addictive. People think sunshine doesn't need help. No one mocked him. No one could. Did they approach you? Namjoon asked gently. Hosok's eyes flashed with hurt. No. The answer came too fast. Then slower. They hinted they knew. Jungkook stepped forward, and I told them nothing. He looked directly at each of them. I swear that. Yoongi nodded once. He believed him. That seemed to matter more than anything. Then Taehyung spoke quietly. They approached me too. Heads turned. Taehyung laughed bitterly. Different tactic, luxury campaign opportunities, solo pushes, whispered praise. You deserve more visibility. Jimin's jaw clenched. And I flirted with the offers, Taehyung said honestly. I liked hearing them, then I told them to choke. Despite everything, Hosok barked a short laugh. Namjoon closed his eyes briefly. They came for all of us. Yoongi's voice was almost absent. Yes. Everyone looked at him now. He met no one's gaze. They offered me ownership stakes in side ventures if I helped steer contract moods. The room went dead silent. And, Jungkook asked. Yoongi finally looked up. I told them to send paperwork so I could leak it later. Taehyung exhaled. That is the most you response possible. For one moment, tension cracked. Then Jimin asked the question no one wanted. What about you, Namjoon? Namjoon did not react. They asked me to keep the group stable, he said after a pause. To calm unrest, to encourage renewals, to persuade anyone drifting. That sounds like leadership, Hosok said carefully. It sounded like loyalty, Namjoon replied. Until I realized they only wanted compliance with my face on it. Jimin nodded slowly. Then turned. To Jungkook. The room felt it before he spoke. And you. Jungkook's mouth went dry. They praised me, he said quietly, constantly. No one moved. They told me responsibility looked like silence, that if I stayed centered, everyone else would follow. Jimin's eyes darkened. And did you? Jungkook swallowed. Yes. The word hit like glass. I didn't know what they were doing with it, Jungkook continued quickly. I thought I was protecting us from conflict. Jimin stood. You fed them our internal struggles. No. You just said yes. I gave reassurance, not secrets. You gave access. His voice rose now, emotion finally tearing through control. You let them use your trust to manage us. Jungkook stepped closer. I didn't know. You never know until after damage, do you? The cruelty was sharp. And deserved enough to sting deeper. Namjoon moved, but Jimin held up a hand. No, let him answer. Jungkook's chest heaved. I was scared. Jimin laughed in disbelief. There it is, your favorite religion. The room winced. Jungkook's voice broke. I was young. So were we. Jimin's eyes were wet now. We were all young and drowning, Jungkook. Some of us learned to fight. You learned to be useful to the people hurting us. Silence. No one could rescue him from that sentence. Because no one knew if rescue was deserved. Jungkook stood there feeling every old defense fail. I hurt you, he said. Yes. I hurt all of you. No one answered. That was worse than yelling. Jimin shook his head, furious tears falling now. Do you know what destroys me? I believe you didn't mean to. I believe you were manipulated too, and I still don't know what to do with the damage. He turned away. Jungkook reached instinctively. Jimin recoiled from the touch. The smallest movement in the room. The most devastating. Don't, Jimin whispered. Jungkook dropped his hand like it had been burned. Mina suddenly stood. I'm in. Everyone turned. Her laptop screen glowed. Full Nightingale archive decrypted. No one moved. Mina's face had gone pale. There's a cooperating member listed. Jimin's breathing stopped. Taehyung whispered, Who? Mina looked up slowly. It isn't one name. A stunned beat. What? Namjoon said. She turned the screen toward them. Project Nightingale. Collective pressure model. Multiple members engaged unknowingly through segmented manipulation. No single operative required. Below that, primary conscious source identified. External personal contact linked to inner circle. Yoongi stepped forward sharply. Who? Mina's voice dropped. She read the final line. Codename identity unsealed. Park SEOJUN. The room exploded. What? That's impossible. He's a friend. Was he? Jimin went completely still. Because Park Seojun was not just any friend. He had been closest to Jimin during those years. Trusted. Inside their private world. Jimin's face lost all color. No, he said softly. No. Then he looked at Mina again. Show me everything. Room no longer felt cold. It felt airless. Every person inside it stood suspended between disbelief and memory, as if the past had suddenly opened beneath their feet. Jimin walked to Mina's laptop with slow, mechanical steps. Show me everything. Mina turned the screen toward him. Encrypted messages. Meeting logs. Payments routed through shell accounts. Summaries of private conversations, written in detached corporate language. Jimin's laughter after rehearsals. Jimin's fear of being left behind. Jimin's frustration with Jungkook. Jimin's loneliness during tour. Fragments of pain converted into data. Jimin's hand trembled on the table. No, he whispered again. No. Jungkook moved instinctively, then stopped himself before touching him. Jimin noticed. That hurt too. He was there, Jimin said. Eyes fixed on the screen. He sat with me when I couldn't sleep. He told me I deserved better. He listened. Yoongi's voice was low. That's why he was useful. Taehyung slammed a fist against the wall, hard enough to make everyone jump. This is disgusting. Hosok covered his mouth, eyes wet with anger. He used comfort as access. Namjoon stepped beside Jimin quietly. Look at me. Jimin didn't. Jimin. Slowly, Jimin turned. This is not your shame, Namjoon said. Something in Jimin's face cracked. I told him things, he said hoarsely, about all of us. You trusted someone, Namjoon replied. That is not a crime. It feels like one. Jungkook couldn't stay silent anymore. No. Everyone looked at him. He stepped forward, voice shaking. The crime was what they did with trust, not that you gave it. Jimin stared at him for a long second, then looked away again. Mina scrolled further. There's more. No one wanted there to be. But no one stopped her. A final folder opened. Project Nightingale, Outcome Review. Internal tensions increased as predicted. Emotional dependencies destabilized. Subject Jimin remained attached to Subject Jungkook despite intervention attempts. Recommend sustained distance strategies. The room went still. Jimin's lips parted. Jungkook felt his knees weaken. They tried to separate us, Hosok said softly. Not just them, Yoongi replied. All of us from each other. Taehyung's anger changed shape into grief. We thought we were failing naturally. Namjoon closed the laptop gently. No more reading. Mina nodded. Enough damage had names now. Jimin suddenly laughed. Everyone turned. It was not hysterical. It was wounded and clear. All those years, he said, wiping tears that kept coming anyway. I thought something was wrong with me because I couldn't let go. He looked at Jungkook. And all those years, something was wrong with the room. Jungkook's throat tightened so hard he could barely speak. I'm sorry. Jimin exhaled shakily. I know. No, Jungkook said. Not the automatic answer. Listen to me. He crossed the distance slowly, giving Jimin every chance to refuse. Jimin didn't move. Jungkook stopped inches away. I'm sorry I mistook silence for strength. I'm sorry I let fear make decisions in my voice. I'm sorry I wasn't beside you when the walls were moving. Jimin's eyes filled again. You were in the room too. I know. You were used too. I know. Then stop apologizing like you were the only one who bled. The words struck deep. Jungkook nodded, tears finally falling freely. I don't know how to forgive myself yet. Jimin's expression softened with pain. Then start smaller. How? By letting someone love you without turning it into punishment. Silence. Beautiful and unbearable. Jungkook laughed through tears. You always make hard things sound simple. They're not simple, Jimin said. I'm just tired. That honesty broke the last wall between them. Jungkook reached up slowly. This time, Jimin leaned into the touch. Only slightly. Enough. The room exhaled as one. Taehyung sat down dramatically. I cannot survive another emotional twist today. Hosok burst into tears immediately. Too late. Yoongi handed him tissues without comment. Namjoon smiled for the first time in hours. Mina looked at the group quietly, almost like an outsider witnessing something sacred. What now? She asked. Namjoon answered first. Truth. Yoongi added, contracts rewritten. Hosok sniffed loudly. Therapy. Taehyung pointed. Several vacations. Jimin looked at Jungkook. Honesty, he said. Jungkook nodded. Even when ugly. Especially then. Weeks later, the world was still loud. Executives resigned. Investigations widened. Old systems collapsed in public and rebuilt awkwardly in private. Some people apologized only because cameras were watching. Others disappeared. The fans argued, defended, celebrated, mourned, speculated. The internet remained the internet. But inside a smaller world, quieter miracles happened. Meals shared without schedules. Conversations finished instead of avoided. Long silences that healed instead of punished. Jungkook learned that love was not a trap when freely chosen. Jimin learned that being chosen late still mattered if it was real. Neither learned quickly. Both learned honestly. One evening months later, rain tapped softly against the windows of the same rehearsal studio where everything had begun. No reporters. No executives. No hidden cameras. Just two people in warm light. Music played low from a speaker in the corner. Jimin sat on the floor stretching, watching Jungkook miss the same choreography move 3 times. You're distracted, Jimin said. I'm being judged. You're being corrected. Cruel distinction. Jimin smiled. Jungkook walked over and dropped beside him. For a moment, they listened to the rain. Then Jimin asked quietly, almost teasingly, will you ever choose me? Jungkook turned to him at once. No fear this time. No hesitation. Every answer he had once buried was now easy. I already do, he said, every day. Jimin's eyes softened. Good. He kissed him gently as thunder rolled somewhere far away, harmless now. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, nothing needed to run anymore.